A trial within a trial on the admissibility of confession statements and pointing out of crime scenes will continue today in the Senzo Meyiwa trial at the High Court in Pretoria. Judge Ratha Mokgoatlheng has ruled that the vehicle tracking data be submitted as evidence. Let's cross now to our senior reporter, Griselda Lewis. Griselda, a good morning to you. Interesting how we're really looking at the minutiae of details really in the lead up to that confession by Ntanzi.
Well, that's right, Naledi, and the car movements of the current witness on the stand, who is Sergeant Vusimuzi Mokhane, are expected to be in sharp focus once again inside this court this morning. So yesterday, the defense, Advocate Thulani Mngomezulu, who represents accused number 1 and 2, had basically demanded more evidence regarding Mokhane's movements from an automatic vehicle locator known as an AVL, which contained the routes that Mokhane took while transporting accused number 2, Bongani Ntanzi, to his alleged confession. That was on the 19th of June 2020, and the days, Naledi, that preceded that, in which the defense has maintained that Ntanzi was assaulted. So the state yesterday committed to making those additional evidence available. Mngomezulu basically telling the court yesterday that the AVL records bearing the dates of the 22nd of June 2020 was not discovered to them, on the reason that the state had indicated that the motor vehicle, a Toyota Fortuner, was not used on that day. A different vehicle was used, and also on the 24th of June, that Toyota Fortuner was also not used. So the defense basically wanting proof of such and details of this other vehicle which was used and where basically it went, because you would recall that the defense has maintained that Ntanzi had been assaulted, tortured, and assaulted multiple times at different locations as well. So the vehicle movements would basically speak to whether the claims or the version that Ntanzi makes of where he was taken to the areas, what it looked like there, if the AVL records or the tracker movements on these cars would point to any of those locations on the version of basically what Ntanzi is saying. So quite crucial. So the defense yesterday wanting details of the 22nd of June and the 24th of June 2020, in which this Fortuner was not used. So if a different vehicle was used, what vehicle was it? What were the details of that vehicle? And where exactly it went? We'll hear this morning whether the state was able to get those details and whether the defense has been already furnished with them or will be furnished with them this morning, because of course Mngomezulu did indicate that once he is furnished with those details, he would then need to consult his client on those particulars.
You know, I remember when we really started looking at this trial, particularly even with the previous judge that presided over it, a lot of interest, of course, into some of the reactions that we get from the 5 men that stand accused. Now that they're going into the minutiae of the details, I mean, have we seen what Bongani Ntanzi's reaction is to some of the revelations, even particularly around the fact that we're going to be seeing, hopefully at some point, these vehicle records?
Well, I guess, Naledi, for lack of a better word right now, he looks gobsmacked. Remember, he maintains that he was assaulted and tortured on a number of occasions. Remember, he allegedly made 2 confessions, one in front of a police officer and the other before a magistrate, Vivian Cronier, who was one of the witnesses that already took the stand in this particular matter. But what they are basically saying, when I say they, I'm talking about Bongani Ntanzi, through, of course, his lawyer, Advocate Thulani Mngomezulu, they maintain that he was beaten. He was so severely assaulted that, he was forced to sign documents that were basically given to him, something that he did not want to do, because you must recall, all 5 of these men maintain that they have nothing to do with the death of soccer star Senzo Meyiwa. And, he looks basically gobsmacked every time these details come up, when there are these, denials from several of these police officers, including, Metro police officers who were part of the convoy, to some of these confessions and alleged pointings out that were done by accused number 1. He looks dumbfounded. He does not agree with what is being said, because they maintain that none of what was secured by these so-called confessions, was done so in a manner which is in accordance with the law. In fact, they were assaulted, they say, assaulted so severely that even at some point, an electrocution device is alleged to have been used. So, to describe the expression on his face, I could only say but gobsmacked, and constantly looking down whenever there are denials from some of the witnesses, including this one that is currently on the stand, Sergeant Vusimuzi Mokgoatlheng, who maintains that no such thing had happened.
Now, if you'll let me, I want to squeeze one last question in, because we've seen this trial within a trial play out for quite a while now. And a lot of it, of course, has centered around the work of law enforcement in the run-up to the arrest of the accused, right? Does this trial within the trial have the potential of collapsing or even, blowing up this very trial that we are seeing at the moment?
Well, Naledi, from layman's terms, it will be very difficult to say at this point, but what really is in sharp focus here is the alleged conduct of police, specifically if the versions of these accused are currently being tested here. And remember, the trial within a trial is simply to look at whether these two accused number 1 and 2, were beaten up, assaulted into these confessions or alleged pointings out that had taken place. What really happened there? The trial within the trial is simply to establish whether these confessions would be admissible in the main trial itself. But what has really also come into sharp focus is, the alleged conduct of police. Whatever this court may find on whether, what we've already heard before this court, Bongani Ntanzi and accused number 1, Vusi SABC, say that they'd been assaulted into these alleged confessions and pointings out. Whatever the court may decide, obviously, the conduct of police is also something, that is being highly scrutinized at this particular point. The court, of course, will make its own decision on whether this happened or not. But while we look at these alleged confessions and pointings out, which are said to have taken place, the conduct of police is also something which has taken center stage, not only within this trial within a trial, but obviously previously, before we started this trial within a trial, in which, police's investigative procedures were being scrutinized. What is it that they did? What is it that they did not do? How did they store exhibits? Very much, them being the first responders to the crime scene. What was done, what was not done. But that's not the issue at this particular point. The trial within the trial itself is merely to determine the admissibility of these alleged confessions and pointings out into the main trial. That is what the ruling will be made on whenever we reach that point.